Information, news, and entertainment on demand.
Welcome to The Changing Stage, music gear talk from the manufacturers and musicians who define the biz. Here's your host, Florentino Buenaventura.
Yeah, that's right. This music means that it's the Changing Stage radio show, powered by the mighty WS Radio Networks, the worldwide leader in internet talk radio. And we are here in our awesomely awesome studios in Mira Mesa or in San Diego, California, depending on what part of the country you're in to know where we're at. And we are brought to you by Pitbull Audio at pitbullaudio.com. They just want you to play it loud. And reason why is they want anybody who's going to be a musician to have their feel and their flavor listened to and shared. And we want to also commend our good friends over at SIR at SIR-USA.com. SIR is Studio Instrument Rentals, or for those that are stage instrument rentals, depending on which part of the business that you like to be creative in. They provide all the great gear for all the touring musicians, like our guest here today, and we'll be talking to him very shortly, as well as for any businesses that are looking to have audio, PA systems, lighting, you name it, they are there for you. And of course, we've got our good friends over at Balanced Breakfast Music Industry Meetup. I'm a part of that group, and it's an awesome group. In fact, I want to take a moment to tell you a little bit about the group. The group is really about community building. And if you want to go to BLNCDBRKFST.com. So that means you're going to leave all the vowels out of that. At Balanced Breakfast, it's an organization that meets here in San Diego. We have our meetings every other Thursday, and then you can look at getting into meetings in San Jose. Well, actually, let's kind of go up the coast here. Los Angeles has meetings, as well as San Jose, Oakland, San Francisco, Denver, Austin, Boston, Toronto. I believe we're going to be starting Miami, and then, of course, to Nashville, where the center of country music is. And these groups are all about building music communities. So you meet some of the top professionals in your particular area, as well as you get a chance to express yourself and express your music and share all that you have for building a career in this lovely business, as it becomes slightly bit of a challenge. So make sure you check out Balanced Breakfast at BLNCDBRKFST.com. And as we're waiting for our guest to arrive here, just wanted to kind of talk a little bit about the way this business is going, and some of the thoughts that I have on this business. Some of the guests that we've they're kind of in a consensus of the thought process of the guests of this business is it's in a state of flux. We are really in times where we're uncertain how this business is going to translate and transpire, and part of that is building communities. Kind of going back to the Balanced Breakfast piece, we're looking at CDs and just generally music sales being a huge challenge, and then of course we're looking at touring and shows and all that stuff coming into play, and that can be a bit of a challenge. And what we hope to do with this radio show is to help illuminate that and how you can better have a career in this business. And that's kind of what we wanted to bridge on, and that's why we bring on such incredible guests that can really explain from long histories of being in this business, how this all transpires, and how this business can find revenue and find an income in this business. So, just want you guys to realize that there are organizations as well as, individuals and radio shows out there supporting you folks. And then also make sure that you you learn from those people who've been there and done that, and that's what we try to do with the Changing Stage radio show. In fact, we are very blessed. We are very fortunate to have one incredible guest here that I'm a huge fan of. I love rhythm. I love groove, and this man is all about that. Mr. Jackie Bertone, you there, Jackie?
Am I on?
You are, sir.
How are you, my brother?
Good, sir. I know you traveled a long way to get here to actually be in studio. I really appreciate that, man.
No, it's not really that far. It's Temecula is only a hop, skip, and an hour drive away.
Yeah, but that's I appreciate that, man. That's a drive. You're not down the street, so most people like to call in, but I really appreciate you making this trek here. And for those who haven't heard the name, you've heard this man's incredible gift. You've played on some of some of the greatest groups and some of the best albums, and everyone from. I was just talking to your lovely wife about your time with Tower Power. We're going to kind of go through that history, and of course, a lot of the horn bands, the Earth, Wind, and Fire. But I'll tell you the one that I kind of dig really, Cecilio and Capuno, because I was raised with those. I'm Filipino and
absolutely
mix and. We had a lot of Hawaiian.
I was hoping to be some lumpia here or some malasadas or something.
Oh man, I could have ran down there. Actually, we like to call this Manila Mesa over here.
Why not?
in Mira Mesa. So
yeah. Speaking of which, I've had a really good career with a lot of Filipino superstars: Martin Ibarra, Sharon Cuneta, Gary V.
Oh wow, yeah, they're all the best.
They call me the only Tagalog Italian out there. So for those who don't know what Tagalog is, it's a good slang, right?
Yeah, it's basically English and Tagalog put together with a little Spanish. So you know what? I'd like to kind of we've talked about some of the things you've accomplished already, but let's start where the passion started. How did you make this choice, this leap to get into the playing and music? Was percussion your first instrument?
Yeah, actually, it was I grew up with an Armenian mother and an Italian father.
Okay.
My mom and dad were known for hosting amazing dance parties at the house, and to the tunes of Tito Puente and the Fania All-Stars and Celio Cruz. And my mom used to send me out in the garage, which you could have eaten off the floor in our garage. But my mom would have me sprinkle Morton salt, all over the floor.
Wow.
So that the guests would dance and they would be able to sashay and slide across on the salt. I thought that was really cool until the party was over the next day. I had to sweep everything up. But,
your passion may have been a little salted.
Absolutely. No pun intended. And I had this deep passion for percussion. I can't tell how many, fast forward how many albums I ruined by moving that needle back and forth and emulating the sound. I'm a self-taught player. I don't read a stitch of music or write music. And my mom opted not to give me drumsticks. She didn't want me to mar up the furniture. So she bought me, I think at the age of 7, my first pair of bongo drums, the little light dark wood with the tacks around it.
Yeah.
And
I had those too, man.
I think we all did. And the whole fact with I Love Lucy growing up with little Ricky and Ricky Ricardo.
Ricky.
Exactly. So that is what the that vibe turned from. And then having instilled from my parents, having the cha-cha or the salsa or the cumbia, everything put into my system, I guess it was basically set forth that's what I was going to play.
Wow, yeah.
And again, started at probably about the age of 8.
Okay. What were you listening to any of the pop stuff that's going on too, or was it always the Latin flavored?
There really wasn't much pop at the time. I mean, with percussion in it, but as I fast forward in my everyday life, we know that percussion's on every song that you know.
Yeah, you kind of helped usher a lot of that in, man.
I'd like to believe so, along with my cohorts, my mentors in this industry. I basically listened to, I hate to say it, but my mom always had Bobby Goldsboro on and Ingrid Humperdinck. But the Latin music stemmed from the day before the party, during the party, and then the day after getting cleaned up. So, but I knew that's that vibe I like. I mean, how many times have you ever been, if not been to a salsa party or a salsa, you cannot not dance, get up. And so there started my career in percussion, for the lack of it, or concussion as we call it.
And when you started going through the different instruments that you had, what was out of all, because you played just tons of stuff, what have you gravitated to the most?
In my adult life now in the studio, I'm hired a lot for color.
Okay.
Soundscaping. All the little little doodads, for the lack of a better word, the little tchotchkes, the stuff that you hear above and beyond shakers, but bells and wind chimes and sound effects, for the lack of a better word, sounds that you would not really pay attention to until, if you're in my studio and I point out the instrument that's making that sound, and people's eyes just blow up because they go, that's what the thing looks like. That's what it sounds like. That's what you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, that's that. You know what? I went to UCLA, and I was in a class with Larry Larson, who was talking about Danger Zone. Oh, what? Kenny Loggins. I had to think about that. And he was talking about, I think it was Paulino DaCosta, who is just an awesomely awesome guy. I've met him early on in my career.
That is my mentor.
Oh, that is?
Yes.
Okay.
And I met Paulino. People don't realize Paulino, if you open an album cover.
See, I've been saying it wrong. I always call him Paulino. But
Paulino. Whatever. He answers to anything itself. And he is the most recorded percussionist in the history of music.
Oh, yeah, by far.
Paulino and I have never played together.
That's funny, but he's been your mentor.
He's been my mentor. We've always sat every NAMM show. We sit and we have a cappuccino.
Oh, nice.
And as my career grew, I would always bring an album to him that I did like I was bringing something to the Lords, and he would listen to it and get back to me a week later, and with his Brazilian accent saying, "Jackie, and he would try to be Italian, molto bene," and that would be like, for the lack of a better word, God telling you that you've done well, and he's been a driving force ever since. Back in the day, 8 years ago, I had gastric bypass surgery, so I'm half the man that I used to be. But in the industry, they used to call me Paulino Light. And not for the size, but obviously for the amount of money I charged that he wouldn't charge. So,
hey, Jackie, stay tuned here. We got the music going. This has been the Changing Stage Radio Show, powered by the mighty WS Radio Networks, the worldwide leader in Internet Talk Radio. We are here with Jackie Bertone, Take Over, and we'll be right back in a few short minutes. Stay tuned.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
Thank you for listening to WS Radio. Improve your business and your life with useful information from experts and thought leaders. WS Radio is radio with ROI.
You may have heard me brag about Progressive Medical Center and just how much they've helped me with my health. And Dr. Goley, one thing that you've helped so many people with is migraines.
Unfortunately, there are millions and millions of Americans who are suffering with migraines and headaches, and they're debilitating because it affects the quality of their life, and they cannot function properly. At Progressive, we get to the root cause because we understand that migraines could be caused by nutritional deficiencies, hormonal imbalances, believe it or not, delayed food sensitivities. And once we determine what the real reason is, we put a plan of action together with medication that we get them off slowly, and we put them on an all-natural approach, and the results are amazing.
Incredible. I mean, there's so many people that can say they don't live their lives with migraines anymore thanks to Progressive Medical Center.
And that's what's exciting and rewarding to us as physicians, because we help our patients take control of their health, and that's why they're living well.
Why don't you get a hold of Progressive Medical Center today? Don't live in pain. Don't have migraines anymore. Just go to their website, progressivemedicalcenter.com.
This is your life. Live it well.
In the military, things can change in an instant. At Navy Mutual Aid Association, we understand because it's our life too. That's why our dedication to serving the life insurance needs of our military veterans and their families is unrivaled. Navy Mutual offers superior life insurance protection without military service restrictions and limitations. A single focus on providing the peace of mind military families are looking for. That's what we do. Navy Mutual, insuring those who serve. Call 800-628-6011 or go to NavyMutual.org.
Hi, this is Rob Barnett, CEO and founder of VinVillage.com and the Wine and Dine Show on VinVillage Radio. Do you have a wine, event, product, or service to promote? Then contact VinVillage.com to reach thousands of wine lovers across the country. VinVillage connects like-minded wine enthusiasts with unique and exclusive wines, events, products, and services. To learn more, contact us on VinVillage.com. VinVillage is where wine lovers connect. Hi, this is Rob Barnett, VinVillage.com, where wine lovers connect. Be sure to tune in weekly to Vin Village Radio for exclusive, in-depth interviews with the who's who in wine and food.
Talk to me.
Information, news, and entertainment on demand.
Welcome to the Changing Stage, music gear talk from the manufacturers and musicians who define the biz. Here's your host, Florentino Buenaventura.
That's right. We are in the second segment of the Changing Stage radio show, powered by the mighty WS Radio Networks, the worldwide leader in Internet Talk Radio, brought to you by SIR at SIR-USA.com. I know that our guest here has used SIR many times for different gear all around the world.
Greatest backline.
Yeah, they are amazing when it comes down to making sure that the artists are provided for. They also do businesses where they can provide PA systems, lighting, all that fun stuff. And Jim and the crew here in San Diego have been really supportive of the show. And, of course, Pitbull Audio at pitbullaudio.com, where they just want you to play it loud, where you can buy your gear if you want to have it for your own, very own. So we've been talking with Jackie Bertone about his history in the business. We barely scratched the surface, and it's one of these ones where we could probably dedicate like a week's worth of shows to you, brother, because you've had an amazing history. Paulino, correct?
Paulino, just say Paulino. That's good.
Yeah, Paulino da Costa. Like I said, I've known him from the 90s, and we met in a studio. He was working on a James Taylor project. I was producing a project in the upper room, and I was trying to remember what that name of that studio, but I can't remember. It's been a long time. It was over in Santa Monica. But
not Jay Whining recording?
No, it would have been back in. This would have been back in actually, this would have been the 80s. Good golly, Miss Molly. So I would have met him in the 80s, and then we connected in the 90s.
How old are you now?
I'm going to be 50.
Okay, I'm 55, so we're walking the same footsteps.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
So, but yeah, he amazing percussionist, and like you said, they played some tracks with some Kenny Loggins tracks with and without the percussion, and it just wasn't the same track.
Well, that's the whole idea about percussion. Growing up in this industry, we were the musicians that weren't hired because the budget wasn't allowing it. And but then when they finally realized in the early 90s that you can hire a saxophonist or a percussionist for the same price, and what the percussionist brought to the table versus a saxophonist as background fill-in music, percussion really was a driving force. Absolutely. And someone had asked me not too long ago what would be my second instrument to play, and it would be bass. But I'm blessed. I mean, nothing better.
I play bass.
So you know what I'm saying? It's that percussive instrument.
We got eye to eye, brother.
And there's nothing more enjoyable is to be playing bells or whistles or shake-a-day, whatever it may be. Yeah. And when you've got the audience in your back pocket because they've all turned into the quintessential RCA dog with that head tilted.
Yeah.
And then
I'm right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's that whole vibe that you hear. And and I learned something years ago from Paulino. And Paulino always said to me, he said, you've reached a pinnacle in music is when you're listening to a song on the radio or in your CD player, and you enjoy it so much, and then you forget that's the percussionist that's on the album.
Yeah.
And so when my wife and I drive, we do a lot of driving together, and I'll always say, who's that on percussion? And it's just that kind of a vibe. And you look there, and I spent the evening last night with Jennifer Nettles and her band at Pachanga.
Yeah, you were playing there last night.
And it was amazing. And it's that whole vibe about how percussion is now a driving force in all music. My dear friend Danny De Los Reyes, Walfredo Reyes, his younger brother, is with Zach Brown. And I mean, they've got Zach Brown doing a djembe solo with Chris Fryer. And
that's so awesome.
Yeah, so it's really
music is really blending, which people might may not agree with me, but I think that's one of the blessings that we've had with this next generation of music, that it's blending different styles, flavors, bringing percussion into, like you said, a country track where that would have never been the case before.
Well, a lot of people don't realize that on most every track that you listen to, a shaker, which is basically a cylinder that's either filled with gunshot or rice or sand, that basically is a driving force. It sits on top and back or in front of a hi-hat.
Yeah.
That basically a lot of producers, engineers call it the glue that keeps the song together.
Yeah, yeah.
And myself personally, when I lay down a track, I try to lay shaker down first and pull that darn click track out.
Yeah.
Which I'm not a fan of, but they have to do that for timing purposes.
Yeah, yeah.
And so, it's a
That's interesting. I'm gonna. Yeah. I've never used that technique. I'm gonna use that, man.
Yeah,
I'm stealing that, brother.
Well, take it. I mean, that's the best form of flattery, stealing something from somebody. So, so when you listen to music, albeit in a theater and so on, and just those really cool ethereal sounds, that's us percussionists that are doing that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think that's important for people to realize, because quite often it's something that you feel less than what you hear when you're listening to a percussion. That's what I got from that one track. That first time it was my 80s. I was going to UCLA, and I realized at that moment that percussion has to be on every track that we do.
And there's a lot of players out there. There's a consortium of the A team or the Yo Cats in the industry, and I'm proud to be part of that exclusive area and to be a Yo Cat. And when you're sitting down, and yes, granted the fact that we're all great players, myself, Ron Powell with Kenny G, and Diana Ross and Madonna and Ray Islas, Christina Aguilar and David Sanborn. I can go down the list.
Yeah, yeah.
But there's a small group of us. Those guys are on the road. I'm not on the road. So what they're not doing, it's pushed back to me and so on.
Yeah.
But a producer will hire a percussionist for his sound. I do a lot of work with production out in Chicago and in New York, and there's great players out there. But the producers know me.
Yeah, yeah.
They know that they'll throw a track at me, 8 tracks, and I'll get it done in a day and a half.
Yeah, yeah.
And me as a studio percussionist, I'm going actually ahead of my touring part, what we're talking about here. But it's like I usually give a producer 5 times the amount of percussion that he's called for at no extra charge. And they can pick and choose what they want to put in there and give them 5 different versions of what I feel may work for that song.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
And the best thing about it is, you can lay all the stuff down, but when the final product comes out and all the stuff that you put down makes the album, that's heartwarming.
Yeah.
Because you got it. You got it.
Yeah, those are your babies that you're laying down. Now, I want to kind of go back a little bit,
Please.
to some of your history, because that really defines a bit of your sound. You started off with Tower Power. And from there, it was just like a whirlwind of bands and artists that you've played with. Kind of give us a little tour of the life of Jackie Bertone.
Well, I was introduced to Tower back in 1976 by my neighbor Mike Rogers, and on the
Mike Rogers from where?
A good friend of mine, not a non-musician.
But where?
In Whittier, California, where I grew up.
Okay, because I have a good friend, Mike Rogers, who's also in the business. I was like, man, that's been a small world.
Yeah.
And he has produced concerts for Tower Power. That's why.
Oh, small world. Well, there was a song called "Only So Much Oil in the Ground," which is more prolific now than it ever was back in the early 70s when that song came out. And I automatically got bitten by the TOP bug.
Oh, yeah.
And I was doing a lot of, I had a very big band in East Los Angeles called Nice and Easy. We were like the creme de la creme of all funk bands. And we had the privilege of opening up for Evelyn Champagne King and the Hughes Corporation, Rock the Boat, if you want to go back.
Shame, Rock the Boat.
And then my next gig above that was I filled in for a friend of mine who was ailing. Andre Biazza was working for a group called Tierra.
Yeah.
Their big hits together.
Together, and then I remember the album. They were on Boardwalk.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And so that I knew was my next step up because I was working with Tierra now. That was my next move up.
Yeah.
But
and they're still going strong too.
Absolutely. And my sights were on Tower Power though. So I started working with a Christian jazz band called Seawind. Pauline Wilson, Bob Wilson, Kim Hutchcroft, and who later became the Seawind Horns.
Oh, okay.
Michael Jackson. That whole situation. And through that, I got involved with a Bible study class with David Garibaldi, the renowned Tower Power drummer.
Pretty much, who was the architect of modern funk
to this day.
Yeah.
And in fact, David's back on the throne again. He was off for a year. He had a double hip replacement.
Oh, wow.
So it shows that our age, we're getting older, and so on and so forth. But I befriended Emilio Castillo, the founding member of Tower Power, who was my brother, my 10 years my senior. And just was with Tower at Thornton Winery, and we were sitting down after the show, and I said to Mimi, it's the funniest thing, Mimi. I said, here I am 55, here you are 65, but when I'm with you, I'm still 19. And the reason why I say still 19 is my first day on stage was at the Golden Bear in Huntington Beach, December 17th, 1979 to be exact. And Mimi and I had talked for about 3 or 4 months prior when he lived up in Berkeley, and he said, "Yeah, why don't you come to the show? Bring your tubs or congas, and let's see what happens." So 3 months later, I show up at the Golden Bear. I personally bought 25 tickets out of my own pocket from my sister, my now brother-in-law, and their friends. I go there, I sit down. Mimi and I gave each other the quintessential first bro hug, and we had never seen each other in person. So I said, "Hey, I've got my drums here." And Mimi looked at me with a furrowed brow, and he went, "Your drums?" I said, "Yeah, we talked." He goes, "Oh, no, man." He goes, "Tonight's not a good night. We just re-signed with CBS, and they want to see us as an original band." Now, I'm 19 years old. You talk about the wind blowing out of your sails. And I said, "Well, I bought these tickets, and the whole audience is this, that, blah, blah, blah." He said, "You know what? Relax. Give me about 10 minutes. So I sat in the backstage area, and there was a bowl of fruit. And out of nerves, I ate the whole damn bowl of fruit. And so Mimi walked up to me, and he said, "Hey," he goes, "you're going to do 2 songs. You're going to do Can't You See? And you're going to do Squib Cakes," which is a great instrumental. And, he goes, and his exact terms are, "If you can't cut Can't You See, don't hang for Squib Cakes." They didn't even announce me. 15 seconds, my congas were up on the corner of the stage next to Greg Adams.
Oh, wow.
And it started out with a percussive intro. I nailed it. Mimi looked back over at me, smiled. We did Squib Cakes, and the rest is history, as they say.
Yeah, that's incredible. Good timing, too, because we're going to be taking a break here in about 30 seconds.
I was watching the red light.
Yeah, you get that now. You see that. It took me a while to finally figure that one out. A lot of people catch on to it a little bit quicker. I'd always talk through the breaks. But this has been the Changing Stage radio show powered by the mighty WS Radio Networks. We are with Jackie Bertone. I get the correct finally.
God bless.
Jackie Bertone. Takeover today, and it's been I'm like a little kid, like just soaking it all in, man, because all this history is amazing, because this is what's defined music as today. We want to thank Pitbull Audio, pitbullaudio.com, and SIR at SIR-USA.com. Make sure you check those guys out, because they are supporting the music industry as we speak. We'll be right back in a few short minutes.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
On the internet, your business's reputation can be unjustly destroyed in an instant. Don't wait for that to happen. Building and marketing your 5-star reputation can increase your business by as much as 19%. Take control of your reputation and have the 5-star reputation you deserve with Reputation Marketing Solutions by DSI Development. Become the go-to company by visiting 5starrepmarketing.com. The number 5starrepmarketing.com.
Has your business been appified? Are you tired of doing marketing that doesn't deliver results? Mobile apps build loyalty and quality retention. Your app from UPG Mobile puts your business on their mind and at their fingertips. UPG Mobile will give you a custom app highlighting how you are unique, targeting your message, and improving your open rates. Appify your business and amplify your presence with your customers at upgmobilemarketinggroup.com.
You've heard me bragging about Progressive Medical Center and how they've helped me feel so much healthier. But one thing, Dr. Agoli, that a lot of people come to you with is just unexplained pain. They just can't get any relief. Why can Progressive Medical Center's Pain Management Center help them?
First of all, we have to acknowledge that pain is for real, and you've got acute pain and chronic pain. Here's the problem. That acute pain turns to chronic, which is long-standing, and no one's getting to the root cause. There's several key diagnostic components that help us get to the root of what's causing this pain. Is it inflammation? Once we do a thorough evaluation to get to the root cause, determine if it's structural or if it's a metabolic issue. And this way, we put an individualized program for pain management involving correcting the spine, using certain injections when necessary, and we get our patients out of pain quicker, and they stay out of pain because we teach them how to live their life well.
Don't let yourself live in pain any longer. Get a hold of Progressive Medical Center today at progressivemedicalcenter.com.
Progressive Medical, this is your life, live it well.
This is Bill Gruber with BizVid Communications, a Southern California video production leader. We've been honored to sponsor, produce, write, and host many of the fine programs on WS Radio over the years. So we understand how important the internet and your website exposure are. As video producers, we know the tricks and secrets to incorporate video to increase your search engine optimization and business success. Visit bizvidcommunications.com to see what we can do for you. BIZVID communications.com.
Talk to me.
Information, news, and entertainment on demand.
WSRadio.com.
Welcome to the Changing Stage, music gear talk from the manufacturers and musicians who define the biz. Here's your host, Florentino Buenaventura.
That's right. This is the Changing Stage radio show, third segment, powered by the mighty WS Radio Networks, the worldwide leader in Internet Talk Radio. And, of course, we are brought to you by Pitbull Audio at pitbullaudio.com, where they just want you to play it loud. And I'm here with Jackie Bertone, and we're talking about his incredible history. And you guys, I'm going to have to ask him for a second one, because this is going too fast, and it's just too much history. We were just talking about you were playing with Tower Power, and this is kind of just the start. You've had some great stories in between the breaks. One of them I wanted to kind of touch on is you were kind of part of this whole thing and you've become really good friends with Brian Wilson, and there was some beef between them and him and John Lennon, and
not beef. There was a lot of people. When I got hired working with the Beach Boys back in the mid '90s, the industry put out the word and said, "Hey man, congratulations." I said, "Yeah, man, cool." They said, "Well, you don't sound too excited." I said, "Well, I'm not really a big Beach Boy fan, even though I grew up in Whittier. They grew up 5 minutes from me."
Yeah.
And then within a 30-day period between getting hired and going to Chicago to record, a lot of my friends were throwing the FYIs. Do you realize this? Do you realize that? And by the time I got to the gig, I became this quintessential Beach Boy fan. And my friend of mine said, "Jackie, even if you don't like the Beach Boys, my God, you're working with Brian Wilson."
Yeah.
And then when I found out through my study that the fact, if it wasn't for the great album Rubber Soul from the Beatles, then of course Pet Sounds would have never been made.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for Pet Sounds, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band would have ever made. And you could never tell me that the Beach Boys outsold the Beatles in Liverpool in their own home ground, because London was just was ecstatic about this group from California.
Yeah, the surfer group
that took everybody by storm. And people have to realize the fact that regardless if you're a Beach Boy fan or not, every musician should have the honor of being in the studio once with Brian Wilson. It's something that will open your eyes forever.
Yeah.
And so these are anecdotes that you can't read about in the paper. And I would sit there in the studio with Brian, and Brian had said, we had this kind of a friendly war going back and forth between John Lennon, Paul McCartney, and myself, who can make the next best thing. And so he had shared a thing with me. The Beach Boys had just finished a huge show in London, and so John Lennon, as a gift, gave him his Rolls-Royce Silver Shadow with a chauffeur to take Brian back into London.
Wow.
And so Brian said, and I don't know if I should say, but Brian was experimenting with different pharmaceuticals at that time.
Well, I think they all
absolutely.
Yeah.
And so Brian had said to me, Brian talks out the side of his mouth. He says, "Jackie, so I'm in this, Lennon's Rolls Royce, and it's at 2:00 in the morning, and I'm listening to this song that's on the radio, a little AM radio, and all of a sudden I told the driver, stop, and he said, we're in the middle of stop." And Brian says, "I remember like it was yesterday, and the tires were crackling over the rocks, and it came to a stop, and he said, I can't do it." He says, "You can't do what?" He goes, "I can't top Sgt. Pepper's." "What do you mean?" So he turned the AM radio up, and there's a song called "Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds."
Yeah.
And that was never been written anywhere, but that's what stopped Brian from moving forward on Smile.
Huh.
That really set Brian off, because his juices were just sucked up by that song. And it came to fast forward, out of all the work with Brian, and Brian's biggest fans are these unknowns like Paul McCartney and Stevie Wonder, and the list goes down the line. In fact, if you get a chance, go on to YouTube and type in Brian Wilson, BBC, God Only Knows. the most amazing video introducing the BBC One to the new series of music coming out on 2016 in Europe.
Okay.
It's beautiful. It's got Sam Smith and Dave Grohl and One Direction. I hate to say it, and Chrissy Hynde and Brian May. These are all people that look for Brian, but it just blows me out of the water because Brian still is a kid, in his mind itself, and and I can pick up the phone and talk to Brian, and they say it because you make Brian laugh, and through all that, it was not just the Tower of Power moniker that when you came out of Tower of Power, nobody wanted to hire you because you were instilled on that, that groove, that deep groove and so on. It's like being the good-looking girl in high school. No one ever wanted to ask her out because they figured she already had a date.
Yeah.
Right? And so, but it's the opposite with Brian because once they know that you have a legacy with Brian and the Beach Boys. In fact, I did an album called Stars and Stripes, Volume 1. It's a country album for the Beach Boys, and where the Beach Boys chose their favorite country singer, Vince Gill, Garth Brooks, Sawyer Brown, the list goes down the line, Timothy B. Schmidt.
Timothy's awesome from the Eagles.
And so what that was is...
Another Sacramento boy.
Yeah, absolutely. and so what that is, that album came out, and we look in hindsight, what an unusual album, Turf Meets the Surf. But the cool thing about that, I was just in my studio, and I looked up at the wall on the Platinum album, and I realized the fact that was the last album the Beach Boys ever recorded as a conducive group before Carl Wilson's untimely passing.
Yeah.
And, so these are things that, as I said earlier, like last night, with these great tours and being on the road and seeing the greatest hotels and these mass audiences, but when the lights go down, Flo, when they go down and when the people leave and when in the next concert with music, I'm on albums I've been blessed to be on that will be here for generations, well past.
Inspiring generations.
Absolutely, And through that, working a lot with Wilson Phillips, working with them and all their hits in the early 90s. And then now,
kids.
And then coming back, and when there's stuff on YouTube where Carney is introducing me. She always introduces me, not China, not Wendy, but Carney does. And she says, on percussion, joining us tonight on stage, it's a dear friend of ours, blah, 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 who's worked with everybody, but most importantly, he's worked with our father, Brian Wilson.
Yeah.
And that blows me out of the water because it's the school of Brian Wilson in the studio is unlike anything you'll ever experience. And if those who haven't seen the movie Love and Mercy, in which Paul Dano and John Cusack have been nominated for Academy Award for their performances, it's the Brian Wilson story, not the Beach Boys, but it's the story of Brian Wilson and his tormented life with the devil Eugene Landy. So rent it now on Blu-ray. This is not a paid commercial.
Yeah.
But it's amazing to see how Brian operated in the studio. So
I would love. The closest thing I've had to that was the movie. It was kind of a really bad loose adaptation. Grace of My Heart.
Oh, okay. But again, too, you're talking. But
that was just kind of not a parody, but like they just used his
likeness and
his personality kind of, and then they kind of twisted it around.
Yeah, in fact, when Brian had and Paul Giamatti, who played Eugene Landy in this film, when they had asked him on Good Day L.A., Matt Lauer had said to him, what'd you think of the performances? And he said, I didn't have a time to think. I was just amazed that I was looking at myself on screen. He said, did anything bother you? He said, yeah, for 15 minutes when Paul Giamatti's portrayal of Eugene Landy, it frightened me.
Wow.
And, and that's stuff that I can tell you about anecdotes with Brian and stuff that I would never, I would take to my grave, but it's stuff that he took the time to explain. I mean, I remember one day, if I can take a couple minutes here, I was in the studio, and my wife had gone out with my rep from Vader Drumsticks. They went to dinner, and I thought I was by myself in the studio, so I was leaning over and tying my shoes behind the booth at Ocean Way or Western Audio. And I thought I was by myself. The phone rings, and actually Brian never left. Brian picked up the phone. He says to his wife, he says, hi, honey. No, I can't. They were going to Chasen's for dinner. And he said, I can't make it. He goes, I'm tracking. Percussion. Jackie Bertone, the one that did the Girls album. Oh, man, he's burning. He's burning. Excuse me. So that's like when you're in your office and you throw a wad of paper and you hit the basket, 20 feet out, but nobody's there to see it.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the same situation. How do you sit there and know that Brian Wilson is absolutely, he wanted to be at that session, at that studio where his hits were made, because of the chambers underneath that studio. That's all the natural reverb.
Yeah.
Stepping back a day before when I got there, my drum tech, Craig Hawkins, had said my name 3 times, Jackie, and I looked up and he said, man, are you high? I said, no, man. I said, look at the history in this place. Down the walls of everybody down the corridors, and in the White Room where Sinatra and Bennett did all their orchestrations, and everything else. There was this black Steinway piano, all dilapidated, sitting in the corner, and I said, well, what a piece of crap that is, right? So fast forward an hour later, Brian comes in. Brian is amazed at all my percussive instruments, the timpanis and so on. And he goes, "Hey, Jackie, come here." And he sits down behind this piano, this old dilapidated Steinway, and he starts playing the intro to California Girls.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "Wow, that sounds exactly like the album." He goes, "It better be. It should. It's the same piano." And all of a sudden, that dilapidated piano got shiny and everything else. And the story is that Brian has always wanted to buy the piano, but the owner of Ocean Way will never sell it because Brian comes in every few months just to sit down and play that piano.
Oh, wow.
So, things you don't read about, things you know.
And now Ocean Way is kind of in its flux with it being the East-West owned, and they still have part of it still used
they still have the in Nashville also. And it's but speaking of the studios itself, it's been a while since I stepped into a studio because I have my own studio. Barkwood Studios. I mean, I've been blessed to walk down the hallway, go get a sandwich, and then come back into my studio and have all the major labels sending everything to me. There's nothing better than be able to sit in your own home, your own studio. And just do it.
And that's pretty much how it's going nowadays. And it's more cost effective for them too.
Makes me more money because they don't have to hire an engineer and they don't have to do anything else. So it's
and then you can just travel time makes it a lot easier for you.
Absolutely. Oh, there's that red light.
We got about a minute left here. Let's kind of, since we mentioned the studio, how can people find out about you? JackieBertone.com. So it's JackieBertone.
Yeah, it looks like Bertone. The E is long Sicilian, so it's Bertone. And understand, this studio is not a tracking studio for musicians and groups. No. It's strictly a percussive studio itself, and it's kind of a, hey, look what I do. This is what I do, and it's a bio of everybody I've been blessed to work with. And it just kind of gives you the WhatsApp. I mean, you can always go to Facebook, and that's where you can see everything that's got to do with what I'm doing live and so on.
Most latest stuff. And I think it's important. And like I said, to learn. I mean, this before you as you were coming in, I was talking about why we do the radio show, and we really try to the music community provide a way for them to get this history that they wouldn't normally get. It's not very easily read or found out in all these general media solutions. So this has been the Changing Stage Radio Show. We'll be right back in a few short minutes. Thank you, Pitbull at pitbullaudio.com and SIR at SIR-USA.com. And Mr. Jackie Bertone, this has been a great one. We'll be right back in a few short minutes for our final segment.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
On the internet, your business's reputation can be unjustly destroyed in an instant. Don't wait for that to happen. Building and marketing your 5-star reputation can increase your business by as much as 19%. Take control of your reputation and have the 5-star reputation you deserve with Reputation Marketing Solutions by DSI Development. Become the go-to company by visiting 5starrepmarketing.com. The number 5starrepmarketing.com.
I raised $8,000 to build schools for South African children. After realizing how many people go hungry in San Diego, I now volunteer at a food pantry.
I'm spending the next year doing volunteer projects across 3 countries and helping in ways they designate to be the most helpful.
The World Link program at the Joan B. Kroc Institute for Peace and Justice recognizes the potential of youth as agents of social change. Learn how you can help youth become a generation of leaders in action at peace.sandiego.edu.
You've heard me bragging about Progressive Medical Center and how they've helped me feel so much healthier. But one thing, Dr. Agoli, that a lot of people come to you with is just unexplained pain. They just can't get any relief. Why can Progressive Medical Center's Pain Management Center help them?
First of all, we have to acknowledge that pain is for real, and you've got acute pain and chronic pain. Here's the problem. That acute pain turns to chronic, which is long-standing, and no one's getting to the root cause. There's several key diagnostic components that help us get to the root of what's causing this pain. Is it inflammation? Once we do a thorough evaluation to get to the root cause, determine if it's structural or if it's a metabolic issue. And this way, we put an individualized program for pain management involving correcting the spine, using certain injections when necessary, and we get our patients out of pain quicker, and they stay out of pain because we teach them how to live their life well.
Don't let yourself live in pain any longer. Get a hold of Progressive Medical Center today at progressivemedicalcenter.com.
Progressive Medical miracle. This is your life. Live it well.
Which sandwich is healthy and tasty? Which sandwich can come on bread or in a bowl? Which sandwich comes 51 different ways, so it's always your way? A which sandwich. Stop into our shop in Hazard Center. We're upstairs from the Hazard Center Digiplex. Bring in your movie ticket. We will add a free drink and chips to your sandwich order. Or order online at whichwich.com, and we will have it ready and waiting. WHICH, whichwich.com.
Information, news, and entertainment on demand.
Welcome to The Changing Stage, music gear talk from the manufacturers and musicians who define the biz. Here's your host, Florentino Buenaventura.
That's right. It's the Changing Stage radio show powered by the mighty WS Radio Networks, the worldwide leader in Internet talk radio. We are really appreciative of our good friends over at SIR at SIR-USA.com, a supplier of all the people that Jackie's been talking about for touring the gear. And if you're a company and you just need some PA systems for maybe your presentation or lighting, they'll take care of you over there. And we have been talking with Jackie Bertone, and I'm just kind of floored. I'm just like living history with you, brother, and it's just amazing. And we kind of share things during the break that we like to talk about. You had a really good story about, playing with Joe Walsh. I was going to say Jack Walsh, but Joe Walsh.
Yeah, we did a TV program. Actually, it was supposed to be for cable for A&E and Sony called HD Planet. It was a 40 by 40 foot screen.
Yeah.
It was the only concert we've ever done in an amphitheater where the band was actually turned looking at the screen because it was all shot in HD when HD was started to get really big. So at the last minute it was Christopher Cross and Bill Curtis was the MC, and the list goes down the line. Steve Dahl, great shock jock, disc jockey in the Loop in Chicago. But Joe Walsh was the last ad.
Yeah.
And so, go ahead.
No, go. I'm going to sneeze here too myself.
Yeah, and so Joe Walsh was the last ad. So during camera blocking, we had to wear the same clothes because they were filming 2 nights. And so Joe was sitting on the side in the wings and was watching Eddie Bears and Michael Rhodes and Brent Mason. These are all the Nashville heavies that are on every country album to this day. And this guy named Jackie Bertone on percussion from L.A., right? So we come in there. And Joe goes backstage, and Joe says, "Oh, man," he goes, "you don't understand something. I can't do a solo gig, man. I'm not with these cats out there." He goes, "You know what?" He goes, "You guys want to join me?" And we looked at each other like, yeah. He goes, "In the City?" Yeah. Funk 49? Yeah. Rocky? Yeah. And I remember he looked at Eddie Bears and myself, and he said, "Hey, man, In the City at the Bridge, he goes, I want you to go on a drum and percussion solo, but for God's sakes, bring me back in." And I remember during the filming, Joe, everybody was dressed in black. Joe walked out in turquoise blue surgical scrubs with a neon necklace on. And he said, "Can you imagine showing up in the ER?" And all of a sudden they go, "Ladies and gentlemen," he goes, "Sir, Mr. Buenaventura, this is Dr. Walsh." And he goes, "And I didn't set you into a coronary situation." But those are great anecdotes of working with Joe. During his sober days and so on. And we mentioned one more thing too, another anecdote of, so on the new Brian Wilson album, it's called No Peer Pressure. Probably one of my things in life, a musical career that kind of was a letdown, only to the fact is that I was part of the trio, produced by Don Was, from Was Not Was. And,
incredible producer, funk producer.
And the cool thing about this is this is the second album that Don had produced. Another album he did with Brian was called "It Just Wasn't Made for These Times." And I was now part of Jeff Beck's band. It was Jeff Beck was on the album with Vinny Colaiuta and with Tal on bass, and the list just goes down the line. And so, unfortunately, this was being elongated, and we finally found out that Capitol pulled and fired Jeff Beck because, unbeknownst to Jeff thought he was more famous than Brian Wilson. And he was trying to tell Brian what to do in the studio. And Brian, who's not a forceful person, just basically said, "I can't do it anymore." And so I got the call by saying, hey, man, because the word went out that I'm on an album with Jeff Beck.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's like, but unfortunately when Jeff left, so did the tracks, so did everything else. So that was one thing that I had to scratch off the resume. Maybe I put the cart in front of the horse and shouldn't have said anything until it actually came through.
But no, that's an experience that you were able to bring about and be part of, and that's that's still history.
Yeah, we were all bummed about it. We were, and going back to the situation where, someone said to me, about all the albums you've been on. I said, let me just tell you something in this industry. If I was on every album I was asked to be on, I'd be on every album I was asked to be on. And that's like the situation where there's difference of opinions, whatever it may be. So you can't take things personally. That's why. Living in Temecula, living in the Inland Empire, my wife and I built our home and our studio out there. I grew up and people paying it forward to me. So on the other side of the coin, I love to pay it forward to a lot of the young cats. I mean, we met at the TVMA, Temecula Valley Music Awards.
Where you won a Lifetime Achievement Award.
Yeah, and it was an honor. But they were saying thank you very much for what you've done for our kids and so on and so forth. But I'm not doing anything that wasn't done for me.
Yeah.
Growing up in this industry itself, it's a small industry that we live in.
Yeah, it is. It's kind of funny. We mentioned Roger Smith being a mutual friend of ours. I knew him back in the early 80s. I don't know if you ever ran into Bobby G, guitar player that Roger kind of helped mentor.
Yes, absolutely.
So Bobby and G and I go back to kindergarten.
Well, see, these are all Northern California cats.
Yeah,
though,
yeah. So them, Peter Michael Escovedo, all these guys that, I go way back a long time ago,
This is all stomping grounds. In fact, for those who don't know, when if you Google me, I was diagnosed with MS back in 1996, multiple sclerosis. And as they say, God has works in mysterious ways.
Yeah.
I mean, because of fatigue and because of limited mobility, I mean, I have my scooter when I'm doing long walks and so on, but you make amends. I'm honored to be in the studio and making better music now than I ever have. But because of our age, mentioned Roger Smith, the greatest keyboard player who took over Chester Thompson's position with Tower Power. He fought cancer, won it, battled it. My good friend of mine, Tristan Bowden, the drummer for Chicago for 25 years, fought cancer, won it. It's been cancer-free for 6 years. So every time we're all together, these old guys together, the three of us hug each other because we have overcome major obstacles in our lives, And my mom always told me one thing. If it's not health-related, excuse my French, it's all bullshit.
Yeah.
Bleep it out if you need to, but the bottom line, this is cable.
This is cable. Well,
bullshit. Yeah, exactly. So, that's that whole vibe. And as we get older with NAMM, this will be my 26th outing of NAMM this year, National Association of Music Merchants. And 20 years ago, we'd be sitting down talking about, hey, man, how'd you do during the Northwood earthquake?
Yeah.
I'm fine. Then 10 years ago, it was, hey, man, are your parents still with us?
Yeah.
And so last NAMM, my wife finally brought up to the fact that during dinner, that all the, Skunk Baxter, all the guys were all sitting around talking about this, but the whole conversation was for 2.5 hours. All we talked about was prostate. And all of a sudden we looked at each other and we said, man, we actually crossed over to that next step, And so, and that's when you think about, but music is timeless, And when I sit back and I get a chance to talk, because I've talked my wife's ear off. She's been there. She's been with me every step of the way for 32 years, so she's lived it with me.
Yeah.
It pisses me off to a certain level. We go to
as she waves her hands in the air.
We'll do sessions and stuff, or we'll go to concerts. The benefit of being in the industry, we get the best seats and everything else. But the musicians will walk right past me, and right to my wife.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, okay. Or if they're not there, where's Cappy? Her nickname is Priest, and her nickname is Cappy. So these are the things that we've grown up. Just one of my bosses, one of my dear friends, Michael McDonald. These are things where I sit back, and when I'm feeling down, and when I feel MS is kicking my ass every once in a while, I'll sit back in my studio, and I'll say to myself, you know what, brother, you haven't done too bad, And then getting the call last night for Jennifer Nettles, and we just watched her on a Hallmark station, whatever it was. Yeah, with Ricky Schroeder and so on. In fact, I told her, I said I was forced to have to watch you, and like that. And but it was like, so it's that whole vibe of different genres of music, and the bottom line is it's music.
Yeah,
and that's why I tell everybody else, look at it's support local music.
Exactly.
Keep the music in the schools,
the communities,
because the government's not doing it. You got to let your kids choose the instrument they want.
Yeah.
Let them be comfortable, but just let them choose it. Let music take them. As my moniker has always been, peace through music.
Yeah, it takes a community to raise a musician.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
There you go.
Forget the village, right?
Yeah, yeah.
We're definitely going to have to do another segment.
We are, because we're running out of time. We got 30 seconds left.
If they want to listen.
So I'm going to ask you to come back. We're going to be broadcasting live from NAMM, so that's going to be one. I don't have the hours just yet, but you are the first on my list of people I would like to have back at NAMM because you're going to be there.
I'm going to be playing, by the way, with Midnight Satellites.
The boys are awesome.
Yeah,
they've been on Radio Ban Diego.
Yeah, we got Center Stage Saturday at 1 o'clock.
Oh, perfect.
How they lock that gig, I have no idea, but come out and see the show.
Definitely. So, folks, you stay tuned because we're going to have a Jackie Bertone return. This has been the Changing Stage radio show, never long enough, with incredible talents and incredible people like Jackie. Thanks, Pitbull Audio and SIR-USA.com, and, of course, WS Radio, the worldwide leader in Internet Talk Radio. We'll be right back. Actually, won't be right back, but we'll be back next week. Thank you very much.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
Progressive Medical.
Hey, this is Heidi Rue, and you know, Progressive Medical Center has literally changed my life and my health, but I'm not the only one. Adele suffered from bone deterioration, bone overgrowth, profound muscle discomfort, physical exhaustion, and mental fog. In fact, the bone deterioration becomes so serious that she had to have back surgery. Well, after the surgery, she still didn't feel well, and so that's when she heard about Progressive Medical Center. Progressive Medical Center discovered that her adrenals weren't working properly, her hormones were out of whack, and the drugs she had been taking were doing more harm than good. Adele came into Progressive Medical Center in a walker, physically and mentally exhausted. But now she's a world traveler. She hikes and walks several miles a day, and it's all thanks to Progressive Medical Center. 770-676-6000. 770-676-6000.
Progressive Medical. This is your life. Live it well.
Take a break from politics. Tune in and learn something. WS Radio shows are worth your time and are filled with tips and advice. Add us to your lunch routine, and we'll give you a meal for your mind.
Do you want to be a professional coach? Are you in business trying to make a real difference with people you manage or work with? Have you started a coaching practice that isn't quite getting off the ground? Get the skills you need to be a successful coach today with the Coaches Training Program from Accomplishment Coaching. The Coaches Training Program will show you how to help others focus and be more fulfilled. Whether you want to improve your company's bottom line or create a thriving coaching practice, Accomplishment Coaching can give you the distinctions and practices you need to coach others effectively today. Accomplishment Coaching has spent 6 years developing a cutting-edge coaches training program that will have you ready to coach people professionally in just 12 months, and you don't have to take time off work to do it. To find out more about the Coaches Training Program, just call 1-888-548-6813. That's 1-888-548-6813.
Hi, this is Rob Barnett, VinVillage.com, where wine lovers connect. Be sure to tune in weekly to Vin Village Radio for exclusive, in-depth interviews with the who's who in wine and food.